The following video is made possible by a generous grant from the Mid-Atlantic United Methodist Foundation, providing stewardship and investment services to faith-based organizations. This is Partnering for Vital Ministries, Courageous Leadership in a Changing World, with Ted Brown and Andy Lunt.
Hello, my name's Ted Brown, and I have been in church leadership for more than 30 years.
And hi, I'm Andy Lunt. I've been a pastor in church leadership for more than 50 years, part of that time in the local church and part at the annual conference level. So that means together, Ted and I have more than 80 years experience in church leadership. And we've made more than our share of mistakes in that time, but we've learned quite a bit. And we'd like to share with you some of the insights that we've learned as we welcome you to Partnering for Vital Ministries, Courageous Leadership in a Changing World. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that it's essential for pastors and laity to work together as partners in a team, as ministry. And so our mission for spending this time with you, our reason for being with you, is to help pastors and laity learn how to work as partners to change their culture so that they can create and grow more disciples and provide more resources for mission and ministry. And in working together as partners, you'll see that there's a need to undergo some very significant shifts to help achieve vitality in ministries. The first of those shifts involves the pastor. And it involves the pastor moving from being a spiritual shepherd to a spiritual leader. Now, a shepherd primarily cares for the people, and that's good, and that's essential. But that often with pastors, especially younger pastors, takes the form of trying to keep everyone happy. And that's not so good, especially for the pastor as a leader. A leader inspires others to change their culture so that more people are grown as disciples and more resources become available for ministry.
Another major shift is that of laity. And I'm sure if you're a normal church, you have a handful of people that are doing most of the work. And we want to make a shift from attending members to many more as contributing disciples. And this will be key in order to have the partnering that we need to go forward.
And then a third shift is one that moves from focusing on buildings and program to focusing on an identity and purpose. And it's more than a question of focus. It's what values drive the decisions made in the church. Maintaining programs and buildings takes lots of time and energy and money. But when our goal is trying to be and do what we discern God is calling us to be and do, we discover that when we're seeking to do what God is calling us to do, God always provides whatever it takes, and the resources are there for that essential ministry.
Often when a church first starts, its focus is external. And as it grows and becomes more mature, the focus turns internal. And this is one of the shifts that we want to help you make, is to return to that external focus while maintaining an internal focus, having that appropriate balance so that you can nurture your members to become disciples at the same time as welcoming others to Christ.
And there's a financial impact as well. There's a shift from focusing on duty and just getting enough to keep the doors open and programs functioning to creating a culture of generosity in which people who understand themselves to be disciples gifted by God are more willing to invest their time and energy and resources in the ministries of the church.
Often when laity serves as leaders of ministries, they do it the way their predecessor has done. And while that is all right, it doesn't allow you to grow. And so we're going to introduce to you some inspiring practices that will reinforce the shift that we're going to encourage you to make in your church culture and your focus on Christ.
And the bottom line is how we organize for ministry. Are we in siloed ministry where lots of people and lots of committees are doing their own thing? Or shared leadership across the board involving laity and pastors together, all focused on carrying out the purpose that has been discerned? Now, in my work in congregational development, I've encountered a lot of congregations who are struggling to thrive and grow in making disciples, primarily because the pastor is trying to do it all. So this partnership between laity and clergy is really, really essential. And we're guided by, you see, Ephesians 4 that suggests that those who are called with gifts to be pastors are to equip the saints for the work of ministry. So we'll be giving you some useful tools and insights that will help you make these important shifts. All these shifts that we've looked at will be a part of achieving vitality in ministry.
We're going to use this framework to guide our discussions both today and in the future. And in this framework, we're going to, of course, focus on identity and purpose, not only for the church, but for each person. What does God call each person in your congregation to do? Of course, we'll talk about practices, and practices are important. They are what churches adapt from other churches, and they are necessary but not sufficient. And the reason they're not sufficient is because of culture. Culture is that generations of assumptions and also generalizations that make up what is an unwritten rules and policies for how things get done within the church. And we're going to help you examine that and help you understand how to make that shift. So it's going to come down to really leadership, both of the pastor and his laity. And you can help your own church make a shift in direction as it goes forward in changing its identity and purpose.
In our next few sessions, we will cover some key topics, and we'll begin with what I call the big three questions. Churches that can answer these questions accurately and well tend to thrive. Those who can't, well, the odds are not so good. We begin with identity, the question of who we are. And that's not as simple as it sounds. It's not what we would like to be or our vision of who we might be, but an honest appraisal of who we are right now. Many change efforts fail because they start at the wrong place with an inaccurate picture of identity. So we'll provide some tools to help you accurately assess your church's identity. And the second will be a focus on purpose, the question of why are we here? Again, it's not so simple. It's not what we think the church should do, but what God is calling us to do. It's not a brainstorming session where everyone comes up with their ideas and then we pick the best. Rather, it's a process of discernment involving Bible study and prayer to discover what God is calling us to do. And then there is the question of context. Where are we located? Who are our neighbors? Who is God calling us to reach with the gospel? And because we can't reach everyone all at once, who are we being called to reach first?
And all of this is important, but we have to keep in mind that culture can undermine every answer to those previous three questions and actions in getting towards that identity and purpose. So it's really what we call a voracious bear. It's very, very important to understand what your own personal culture is, as well as the culture of your congregation and the culture of the community you're trying to serve. So we're going to help you to discern those and be able to make a shift from current state to a desired future state. So our mission is to help pastors and laity partner, learn to work together to change their culture, and to do that in a way that creates and grows more disciples. And with more disciples, provide more resources for mission and ministry. So the questions are you led by our Savior, Jesus Christ? Is God going to be the dominant picture in your mind as you look at yourself and your church? Are you ready to be a leader with faithful resolve? Because there will be many times where you will be challenged and questioned about the direction that God is leading your church. And are you ready to be an agent of change, to at times be lonely, but more particularly to take care of yourself as you help your congregation and sometimes yourself move in the right direction? If so, why join us on this journey as Andy and I both share the things that we've learned through 8 decades of experience and working with many, many churches.
So in the next few sessions, we'll be focusing on identity and purpose. And the next time we'll discuss identity. So in preparation, you might want to ask yourself and your team, laity and pastors together, what is the identity of your congregation in the minds of the members? Who do you think you are? What's the identity of the congregation for visitors, both those who might be worshiping in person or those who might be worshiping with you online? And then how does the community describe your church? Often the community has a clearer picture of who we are than we do ourselves. So we want to thank you for joining us today and invite you to join us next time for Partnering for Vital Ministries. And we want this to be a dialogue and a conversation. So if you have questions or concerns or issues you'd like for us to discuss, please send those to us at the address that you see on your screen. And until next time, for Ted and for myself, God bless you and goodbye.
And God bless you in your ministries. Goodbye.
To access additional key resources, including homework assignments, please register for Partnering for Vital Ministries at the Foundation website shown below. You may also contact us through the website for more information about our stewardship and investment services. This has been a production of the Mid-Atlantic United Methodist Foundation.